Three, two, one. What is up, dude?
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. I'm sure you're on cloud nine.
No, literally, like these past 2 weeks have been surreal. Like I don't even think this is reality. Like, to be honest.
Because we have video on Spotify now. So for everyone that's watching, like, this is OnlyKings is the name, but we have like actual like New Mexico royalty in here. Like, we have the brand new Miss New Mexico USA. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is incredible.
Thank you.
Grueling, I'm sure it's at some point.
Yes.
But before we get into everything you've done, just real quick in the front, when is like the big day? It's in August, right?
Yes. So Miss USA will be taking forth August 4th.
Okay.
And then it'll be held in Los Angeles, California.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And so how can people in New Mexico watch that?
So it'll be live on the CW as well if you can make it out there.
Sweet. That's awesome. So are you born and raised here in New Mexico?
Yes, born and raised. I'm a native, and this is my home.
What got you into pageantry and like that whole world? Because I tried digging in a little bit like before we did this, so I could get like a little bit like warm and fuzzy on it, understand like what's going on. And there's surprisingly like not a ton of information on it. There's a lot of like, here's what we do, here's how to find us type stuff, like information outside of Wikipedia. Like, I couldn't really find that. So like, what has like modeling and like pageantry and all that, has that been a thing you've wanted since a kid?
No, actually. So I was not raised, like how the mothers and the daughters, all of this is still fairly new to me. I started modeling back in 2020, also when COVID was taking place. And then pageantry actually didn't start until 2022. So this is only, or no, I'm sorry, mistaken, 2021.
Okay.
So this is only my third year of doing pageants, and I'm Miss New Mexico. It's crazy.
Oh, shit. Well, take it and run with it, because, I don't know if you've, hopefully this isn't happening at all, but just with everything that is competitive and be like, she's only been doing it for 2 years or 3 years, what the fuck? Like, no, if you've got it, do it. Like, you've been, how do I put this? Like, there's something to like, whenever you're doing something that you're supposed to be doing, doors kind of just open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people can call it God, people can call it the universe, like whatever you decide to believe in. Those things just kind of happen. Like, granted, you have to move with the right intentions and be doing, and you genuinely want to do this thing. And if you're supposed to be like aligned with that, like, I don't want to say career field, but like with that pathway of life, like what you said, to spend your time doing,
right?
Things are just gonna end up opening for you. Were you here? I'm assuming you're here in New Mexico during the pandemic. Like, what was it about 2020 that got you into all of this? Because we were just talking about this a little bit earlier, how like everybody's like, well, shit, all of this can kind of just come to a halt. You know what I mean? It's like everything just done.
Yeah. No, I feel like either during COVID, I've heard a lot of different scenarios from people. So either they completely were shut out, they locked themselves in their homes, and they went introvert, and they didn't connect with people. And I think a lot of people were afraid during that time. But then you also hear the other perspective of where this was an opportunity for people who, especially creatives, it was their time to just focus on the things that they actually enjoy and the things that they wanted to pursue other than their careers, because also people weren't working. So such as your podcast, this was a great opportunity for you to take the time to settle in and do that. Whereas like with me, it kind of just happened, and I didn't... I found the first photographer that I worked with, shout out to Eric McCormick. I found him through Instagram, through a mutual friend, and I just liked a few pictures, and not thinking that, he would DM me, and then all of a sudden he did. So I was like, this is super exciting, and I'm going to move forward with this, and didn't expect anything at all. And then it all just kind of started, just coming to me.
Did someone nudge you in the direction of like, hey, you should try, like, 'cause I mean, I don't mean this in a negative way. I'm just calling a spade a spade. There are a lot of New Mexico models. Let's put it on Instagram. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of them.
Yes.
And of varying degrees, of varying talents, and
a variety of work.
Yes. And then quite frankly, like, you'll find that anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, there's like I've started dipping my toe in and getting more active with like stand up.
Okay,
Right. So
yeah.
it's like there are comedians here in town that have been doing this shit for like 15 years and they're monsters.
Yeah.
There are comedians that have been in this town doing it for 10 years and they're no better than I am.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all varying degrees, and there's a lot you can go into with that of like why people are the way where they are, but like I bring this up because for me, like after my first open mic, a good friend, I was just talking to her earlier, her name is A. Marie, she's a comic, she lives in Japan now, but she had taken me aside and was like, yo, I mean, you fucking suck, but like you have something, like
Yeah.
there's something there. So did anybody like nudge you into like, hey, you should try doing this? Like what's the path to like Miss New Mexico?
Yeah. So, no, nobody nudged me. I mean, throughout my entire life, like, I had little comments made from family members, from friends, being like, "Oh my gosh, like, you're so beautiful. You could be a model one day." And it kind of just like went over my head because, one, you always gotta, at least for me, I always gotta remain humble. So when I receive compliments like that, it's like, yeah, okay, like, thank you. But, you know, I always also try to be realistic. And so I'm like, yeah, like, thank you. I don't think I'd ever do that. Or I don't know if that would ever be for me. But no, I mean, it's crazy that those comments were actually being told in real life, and it almost was manifested if you think about it. So no, nobody nudged me, just slight comments made, and I made the initiative to kind of snoop around my friend's girlfriend at the time because we were friends and he had just got a new girlfriend. So I went through her Instagram and I was like, oh wow, like she's beautiful. And then I was like scrolling down and she modeled and she was from here. And so to me, I was like, there's no way that's real here because with like, I was so like.
That is the most New Mexico answer that you could give to that scenario. Well, because like, I mean, I grew up here too, and we're always like, yeah, and again,
We're far behind.
We're behind. Like whether it's entertainment, whether it's
Yes.
infrastructure, like there's just things that New Mexico is kind of we missed the bus on for whatever reason. So it's easy to. I mean, I grew up that way.
Same.
Just growing up, like I mean, what do we have here other than bars and movie theaters?
Exactly.
The beach got closed down, so like, what the fuck do we do now?
We have Elephant Butte, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's like 2 hours away.
Yeah, so it's like, and this is a great place to live if you love hiking and doing like outdoor like nature type shit. But like for entertainment,
we're shorthanded.
yeah, and it's it's a bit of a well, it is a product, in my opinion, of the pandemic. There's this like huge resurgence and like almost like renaissance of really great entertainment happening. Like there's a bunch of bands popping up everywhere. There's almost a few new people. There's a handful of new people almost every month that I see at open mics. They're just trying it out.
Yeah.
Like so, all of these things are starting to come. So to give that answer, like, yeah, what the fuck do we have here? It's real.
And I don't like to say that because I'm now representing my state, but in a way, we all need to be honest with each other, and we all need to be truthful with the fact that it's barely growing. Like we just got Netflix. We're just now having local artists and
have you been down to that studio?
No,
The
I
lot?
haven't,
It's
no.
fucking badass.
It's cool.
It is dope. I can't say the company, but the company that I work for, we have the contract for their security.
Oh wow.
So I had to do a tour of Netflix. I was very happy to do a tour of Netflix, and I got to see like their lots, and like it's crazy because they're shooting some TV show that I think it's set in modern times, but they have like a Western style bar.
Okay.
And I walked in there, and it looks like a saloon.
That's so
with just like
crazy.
modern kegs and like pumps and taps and shit.
Yeah.
It is incredible the amount of money they put into that place.
Dang.
And you see like the giant posters of like that TV show that the Sofia Vergara just did about the drug dealer. Like there's a giant poster of that on the lot, and like the cleaning ladies, these people running around. It's nuts. I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today. Podcast is now officially sponsored by the amazing people over at High Desert Relief, a premier herbal destination right here in the state of New Mexico. They have extremely well-trained and knowledgeable staff that are more than happy to help you find what you're looking for or try something that you maybe have never thought of. They have 2 locations here in Albuquerque, 1 in Santa Fe. All 3 will be listed right here and in the description of this episode. All 3 offering legendary products at absolutely legendary prices, including this awesome merch that they were so kind enough to gift me here. All of this can be found at all 3 of their locations. Again, big thank you to the guys over at HDR for supporting. Now back to the episode.
Well, again, like that's awesome that they just established that here because we didn't have that growing up, and so now it's barely just starting to grow, and everybody's just starting to get creative now, which obviously that's amazing, but back then we didn't have that. So.
Right. Well, there's this weird mentality, and I still see it every now and again. It's starting to get phased out a little bit, just in my opinion, from kind of outside looking in, where it's like, well, you know, I want you to be famous or successful. I want you to be successful, but you can't be more successful than me.
Yeah.
And that's almost in every facet of life. And so to see like the younger people are starting to kind of like, not even younger people, just like people that have a genuine interest in entertainment that want to do well. And I don't think there are narcissists and sociopaths and whatever, but I really don't think that for the most part, you can't want yourself to do well without wanting to take others with you.
Yeah.
You know, it seems to be a natural, like, human instinct to, like, I want the tribe to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want all of us to be able to eat. You know, if you take it back to, like, the caveman days, right?
Absolutely.
So we all need to eat. So it's all come up together. Okay, so anyway, you were saying just about, like, getting started with getting into Miss New Mexico after...
Yes. Yeah. So when I had scrolled through her Instagram again, I had found Eric McCormick, and he is a photographer from Artesia, New Mexico, which is 3 hours away from here. And
do you maybe this is jumping ahead a little bit, but because you're not like Miss Albuquerque, you're Miss New Mexico.
Yes.
Right. So like, do you go on like as you're like trying to get up there, you're trying to like get crowned I'm assuming it's called getting crowned, right?
Yes.
Forgive the fucking ignorance. But you know, is it like, do you go on like camp, like do you like go around to different like cities and like introduce yourself as like, yo, I might be the person. What's up?
So at Miss USA, again, this is only my 3rd year doing pageantry, so I'm still adapting and learning to all of this too. But, you know, going through the current Miss USA's Instagram, you know, she attends fashion shows. She just got with the president and did something with him. You know, you can do, you know, certain appearances, whether it's political, for entertainment, whatever. So you're literally representing the United States. And
right.
So, yeah, there's a lot involved.
Who's like your mentor in all of this? Like, who's the person that's guiding you, that's like keeping you on the right track and like showing you the ropes? Like, who is that right now?
Yeah, so right now I am Miss New Mexico USA because of Laura's Productions. She is the director and kind of my manager through all of this, and she is the one that kind of assists me and guides me through all of this with my appearances and stuff while in New Mexico. But let's say hypothetically I win Miss USA, then she has to hand me off to Miss USA in that organization too. So this is kind of just temporary right now until we figure out who's crowned, and then if it's not me, then I would be happy to still be here and represent New Mexico itself. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Huh. That's very interesting. Well, I just imagine there's like this whole ecosystem you have to play along in and like work with and navigate through, and you need somebody strong that can actually be like, hey, now this is you got to keep the train on the tracks.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just like, again, this is completely assuming, but with most facets of entertainment, you know, there are really great things about it, really bad things about it, and learning how to navigate all of that.
Well, people get lost in the sauce too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, people like they let this all of it get to their heads, and I think that's where you start to lose track, because once you start gaining that what do you call it, that fan base, or people that might admire you or look up to you, and you might receive all of these messages and things like that, and you can kind of get off track, and then like I said, I think it's just important to remain humble and to just be grateful for these types of opportunities, because especially not every woman can do what I'm doing right now. And I realize that. And so I think that's why not only is this super important, but just something that I want to utilize moving forward, whether that is Miss USA or just Miss New Mexico. Either way, I'm completely happy with that. And yeah, just don't get lost in the sauce, folks.
But no, yeah, not to even put the idea of complacency in your head, but like what you've already accomplished is pretty crazy.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Because I'd have to imagine like the road to that is very akin to like casting calls, where there's like, you know, there's an opening casting call for the male lead and whatever, and then if I showed up, there's like 50 to hundreds of other guys that look just like me.
For the same position.
Plus or minus some facial hair and hair changes and, you know, skin tones. We're all going to get diffused and funneled into like one thing.
Right.
So what was the first pageant that you participated in?
So it was Miss New Mexico the first time. So the only pageant I've participated in is Miss New Mexico.
Oh, you were just like, fuck it, I'm going for the big thing.
I was like, go big or go home. I was like, we're not doing no Miss Albuquerque. No, I'm like, I'm going to represent the state, not a city. I want to be the face and the name of this entire state, y'all. So no, yeah, I went big. And I also was accepting to the fact that, hey, this is my first rodeo. This isn't something that I'm used to, and I wanted to just try something new, and figured I had enough confidence to just get in there and just try it. And I accepted the fact whether I was going to lose or win, and obviously I did lose up until this point. And I was okay with that, because again, this is all just a learning experience, and it's a privilege, honestly.
So was it 2021 when you first tried it?
Yes.
Did they tell you why you lost?
So they're not allowed to expose any information as far as like give you details or give specific people comments on their things that they didn't like or that they needed to improve on. But usually the directors, they'll kind of just give a widespread of just general information on what all of the girls can work on, whether that is your walk, whether that is how you speak and your public speaking, or especially within the interviews too with the judges. That's super. It can get intimidating and discouraging at times if you're a little nervous, but if not, it's fine.
But they don't give you any feedback. That's crazy.
Yeah, just generalized feedback. That's it, not specifics.
Damn.
So yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Do you remember like? Because again, I was watching like previous videos of like Miss New Mexico and like Miss USA and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I do not mean this as a disparaging thing, but it cracked me up because they were interviewing one of the girls and she's standing there like, I'm so happy to be here. And they're like, and the very nice guy, he's like, so what would you like bake for your friends for dinner? He says, well, I would da-da-da, and gives a well-articulated answer. And then he goes, so New Mexico's an open carry state. And this poor girl, she kept her composure, but there was this like eye twitch that she was like, what are we talking about?
Poor thing.
Which is like, it's bananas to me. Like these, like I understand like you want it to be more than just a glamour show. You want to show who they are as a person. You want to display thoughts and opinions. But this is like governor debate questions. Do you remember what they asked you?
Yeah, so luckily within my 3 years of doing pageantry, they've never asked me any political questions, luckily.
Oh, that's good.
So I was very blessed and very lucky with not having to answer those types of questions. And they usually don't when you're competing in state. But when you go to Miss USA, there's potentially questions like that, which is why you need to be prepared. But you also, it's important to recognize both ends of the spectrum, because then if you're going to represent your country or your state, you don't want to upset anybody too. So you don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah. Do you remember what they had asked you in your first go round?
Gosh. Okay. So one of the mistakes that I had made was, so when I had first signed up, I didn't sign up in time to gain the little area from where I was from. So I'm in the Northeast Heights. So when I had signed up initially, there were only like a few names that I could pick from. And so they were like, so where is the North Valley? And I was like, it's, and I
Wait.
didn't know where it was.
Wait, that was a question?
Yes, it was like, so where are you from in New Mexico? And I was like, well, I'm from the North Valley. And then another judge was like, well, where is that? And I was like, I don't know.
Oh, that's not a good look.
So the first year I was like, all right, folks, this isn't my year. It's all right though.
That is rough. I gotta be honest. I appreciate. See, this is why I love podcasting, because people want authenticity, like real shit.
Yes.
That is hilarious.
We have to be honest.
That is rough. Okay, so wow, yeah, it's a big ding. Okay, so you go back to for 2022. Well, I mean, if come on, that's funny.
It was so...
In the moment, I'm sure it was horrible.
It was horrible because I'm looking at 5 judges, 5 people that are judging me, literally.
Right.
That's what they're called.
Yeah.
And they are, trying to get to know me. And one of the first questions they ask is where I'm from, and I have no idea where I'm from.
Right.
But it's because I wasn't from there. So
Right,
that
yeah.
part of the city, because I wanted to try something new and try this, I guess I just didn't do enough research too. So
were you able to see the judges when you were on the stage?
Oh yeah,
'Cause
they're
you-
right in front of you.
Okay, no, I just asked because I don't do it anymore, but I did one physique competition years ago, like back in 2022, I think. And I remember just being up there. Thank God they didn't ask us questions. That was so delirious up there. But I remember looking out off the stage and I couldn't see anybody.
Yeah.
Like the lights were so bright that I legit could not see shit. And even now, even when I'll go down to the comedy club downtown and do a set there, those lights can get so bright. If I want to talk to someone or if I want to interact with something that just
You're all
happened.
squinting. You're like,
Well, I have to be like a dork. I have to be like that.
you're like, okay,
So-
you in the back. You're like, I can't see you, but I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah. Damn, that's okay. So the second go around, 2022
Well, I guess it'd be 2023.
or 2023.
Yeah, it's 2024 now. Yeah.
Right. So is that when you win the second time?
No, I won
No,
just a couple weeks ago.
Right, the third time.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to do the dates
I know.
properly.
'Cause,
Right.
Yeah, it's a whole year. So
Look,
it's
you don't
real
know where you
confusing.
lived. I don't know what numbers are. Look, you're in good company. All right, this is APS education.
I don't know what year we're in.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm from. I'm kind of just here.
So the second go around, what were, I guess in the interim, right, in that year gap, what improvements were you making? What were you working on? I mean, did you have any experience public speaking beforehand?
So just the few interviews that I've done with local newscasts, such as KOB, KRQE, due to mine and my brother's stories. But I had never spoke previous to that, or
Right, you never got up on
within pageantry.
or just got up in front of the stage and talked to people before.
No.
Was that intimidating to do that?
So for the interviews, you're enclosed in a room with these 5 judges. The public doesn't get to see that for
Oh,
the
wow.
questions that they're asking you. And you only get 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, that's
Figure that.
Yeah.
You're trying to get to know somebody in 2.5 minutes. Now, with somebody that has an extraordinary story, or with people that have been through a lot or have so much to share, it's hard to do that in 2.5 minutes too. But no, so the only time that you actually answer questions in front of the public and to the judges is when you make top 5
okay.
on stage.
Okay. That's a little easier then. That's good. Because and that's a big reason why I started podcasting too, was I really got into the presidential debates in college, and I always thought it was so ridiculous how they're like, hey, governor from Nebraska or whatever,
Yeah.
climate change sucks. How would you fix it? Here's 60 seconds. And it's like,
Yeah, how do you even answer that type of question in that
Yeah.
amount of time?
it's absolutely insane. So it's good that they kind of did it that way. Okay, so were you, like I said, in that year gap, were you trying to improve on anything? Were there conscious steps you were taking to I hate to say display yourself better, but just perform, right?
Yeah, so I got with a few coaches that have been doing this for a few years and that are, I would say, pros, with public speaking, learning how to walk better, and just how you present yourself, really. I think that's what most matters, because if you're going to represent something as big as your state or your country, you just have to you have to have a good presence about yourself, and it's not so much about, the steps that you take or how fancy your walk is or anything like that, but that is something that they look at, because they really just want somebody who is presenting themselves well. And so for the 2 years that I was practicing, it was, my walk. It was how I'm answering my questions without saying or like, or just sounding more professional, really.
No, and just because I'd imagine, because you're getting as many like reps in as you can, but it's not like you can practice doing all of that every week. It's a one-time thing. So it's like, are you like practicing at are you like doing laps in your house? Are you like, no, I just asked because like, I mean, that's just, I practice just for stand-up, I'll fucking go right out there and I practice to nobody.
Yeah.
Just so I can hear like, okay, this is how the words sound coming out of my mouth. Does it feel comfortable coming out of my mouth? What are my arms doing? What are my
Do
legs
you laugh
shaking?
at your own joke?
Right. Well, yeah, right, exactly. Well, that's see, that's what I'm learning to get comfortable with, because I think some of the things that I say on stage are absolutely fucking horrendous. But if you wrote it down on a paper, like my joke book's a manifesto at this point.
Yeah.
But it's learning to like be comfortable with all of that, and just back to real like stage presence, like being comfortable in your own body,
Right.
and then like presenting that properly. Yeah,
because that itself is nerve-wracking, to say the least, because you're showcasing yourself in front of strangers.
Yeah.
And so, as far as the practicing goes, when you had asked me, so I was literally renting out studios, dance studios, 2 or 3 times a week, and literally just walking for 2 hours each session. So that's 8 hours a week. I'm just walking back and forth, practicing my walk. And so I was doing that. And then with the coaching, with the interviews and, public speaking, I was also having hour sessions with coaches too. And just trying to make sure that when I'm speaking, I don't sound like a dork. I don't sound like I'm from,
No, yeah, you don't want to sound like the back swamps of Louisiana.
No. So we had to really, because I used to say like all the time after every word pretty much. So we had to get rid of that out of my book of words.
Did they, so what were like this? See, exactly, there it is. What were the speech exercises that they were having you do?
Really, it was just mimicking what potential questions could be asked. So, for example, why do you want to be Miss New Mexico? Or why do you think you can be the next Miss USA? So it's really just prepping those types of questions too, because but you also don't want to sound too rehearsed either, because when you're rehearsed, then you
come off as robotic.
Right. Yeah. And then if they ask you something that you didn't rehearse, you're stuck.
Right.
So you have to find a ground too, where it's like you're practicing all of these questions, but then again, you don't know what they're going to ask you. So it's just, I think it's just all for the experience, really, because then you can carry it throughout your life too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you need to be able to have the tools to take care of the job, but you never know what the issues are going to be, what's going to happen, stuff like that. Right. That makes perfect sense. So after the second time and it didn't work out for you, what made you want to do it again? It was like and I asked that because like for a lot of people, they don't get what they want the first time.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? Same for me. We're done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what made you after the second time try again? And how old were you for the second time?
So the first time I had did it, so I'm 22 now, which would have made me 20 the first time I ever did it. So I was 21 last year.
Okay.
When I did it for the second time. And, it's funny that you asked me that, because I initially wasn't going to. For the longest time, I was telling friends, family, everybody that was asking me, are you going to do it again? And I'm like, no, because it can get really expensive. It can get really time consuming. And, I felt like you had just said, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this isn't my calling, or maybe I wasn't meant to do this. And so I had stuck with that for about half of the year. And then I had made the decision fairly quickly with only 3 months to prepare this year that I was going to do it again. And it was because I had some coaches reach out to me and was like, you know what, you shouldn't quit. You should just keep going. Like, you really have the potential to do this. And I was like, okay, I don't know. And because I'm a firm believer in Christ and I have, my religious beliefs, I was like, what do you want me to do with this? I don't know if I should try this again or if I should just leave it in the past and say I did it for experience. But I guess with the calls that I had received literally weeks after, and I just kind of took it as a sign to do it again. So
weeks after deciding that you're going to do it, or weeks after? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I only had 3 months to prepare this year, and so it was very last minute because this whole year I wasn't going to do it. And then it was like, okay, God, like, what do you want me to do? And with this, and so once I got those calls from coaches and some people in the background, it was like, yeah, you should do it again because you could be built for this. And I kind of took that as a sign. Well, they wouldn't be calling me if I wasn't supposed to do it.
Right.
And now I'm Miss New Mexico.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, hindsight's 2020 because it worked out, obviously.
Yes.
Thankfully it did work out. But I'd imagine in the process you're having these conversations on your own, like, okay, whose opinion do I value? Okay,
right.
There's already that. And then it's, okay, I value these opinions. Okay, now how many of these opinions are correct? How do I decide if they're correct or not? Because you need to find, like, especially with doing something like until you make it a career, and I mean, you're making it a career right now, but like in the lead up to it, it's like, okay, am I doing this because I want to do it, because I'm getting encouraged to do it? And then if it's just me getting encouraged to do it, am I getting reliable feedback?
Right.
Like, can I actually trust that this is going to push me in the right direction or not?
Yeah.
And now, obviously, you made the right decision. You played your cards right. You won. I mean, you did, right?
It worked out.
It worked out. So let's say like 30 days out from the actual like pageant day. Like, what are you focusing on? What are you guys running through? Like, what are the obstacles you ran into? Like, what does that last 30 days look like?
Well, again, it was just primarily focusing on how I was speaking to people. And even after I would get done having my coaching sessions with these coaches.
Keep going. I'm just going to check the cameras.
Yeah, go for it. So even after that, I would still use my practices even in daily life. And I would just talk to my family members or friends without saying or like. And so there's that. But then again, it was really just being at the dance studio 2 to 3 times a week. I mean, it was posting pictures and trying to get myself out there more so that way when I, could potentially be Miss New Mexico, people knew who I was. And I mean, it was just, there was so much hard work and so much meetings with coaches and walking and, maintaining physically too. I mean, because again, it's appearance too. So not only do they want a smart, intelligent girl, but they want somebody who's fit and who's no,
I don't think it's
a beauty pageant.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I don't think it's selfish to say that. It's all vanity. Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest fashion magazines is called Vanity Fair.
Right.
Like it's all about appearance. It's all about that. Do they have you on like a diet? Do they have you on a workout plan? Or are they just like, hey, you need to stay within these margins?
So you kind of get to choose how you want to prep and what you want to do to practice for the competition within your state. I mean, that's in your own hands. And if you want it enough, you're going to do obviously whatever you need to do to achieve that. So they don't make you go on a diet, but I mean, it's pretty recommended if you have struggles with that or, if you're trying to maintain physically. So, but they don't force you to do that.
Well, that's surprising. I'll be honest. But I mean, I'm sure other states have amazing food, but this is one of the hardest states to diet in. Yeah. Ever.
Sopapillas and green chili. And don't even get me started. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you like still like, I mean, how calculated did you get it with your diet? Like, were you like counting macros and all that stuff? And like,
oh God, I've never done that in my life.
No. It turns you psychotic. Like, God bless the girl that I was with at the time when I was doing my bodybuilding prep. God bless that woman, because
was she helping you with it?
She was helping me with it, but like because she was like, hey, can we like especially like in the last like few weeks rolling up to it. It's like, can we go eat something? Like, nope, I have to eat my 200 grams of chicken and my like 100 grams of whatever. Like, God, yeah, no, God bless that woman. But then like, and her family's amazing. And so like, I was prepping through Thanksgiving that year and Christmas.
Oh, that is the worst.
So I had to like, I would like starve myself 24 hours beforehand and then just like kind of gorge whatever. And I remember her grandmother was like, she goes, oh, no, you're getting too skinny. You need to eat. And I'm like, no, I know. Just give me a couple weeks. I'll be back. She was like, okay, just, we don't want you to die.
Yeah.
Because I was like, and it's funny, I looked at, it's a buddy of mine that I had in here last night. We hadn't done a podcast together since the very beginning. And I was like looking through the old catalog and the episodes I was doing at the time, like I have like a skeleton face. Like my cheeks were like shrunken in and like I was just like a shriveled fucking like, yeah.
And this is when you were doing, like, did you do fitness competitions?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, because I was like cutting weight and all that shit. So.
Jeez.
Oh yeah. So I'm glad that they're interviewing you and asking you guys questions while you have water in your system.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's good.
Yeah, no, they definitely, even my director, she's like, make sure you're eating. And because, a lot of these girls, again, they take this so seriously and they've been doing it their whole lives and have wanted this so badly that they'll literally like not eat or they'll do horrible things to themselves like that. And it's like, no, girlfriend, like you don't got to do that. Like, I think if you just play it safe and not starve yourself,
Well, this is speaking in generalizations, but just off of like, I've seen a couple documentaries on like the child pageants and all that.
Okay.
And people who grow up in that, like it's very akin to like child actors. Where it's like, it gets like ingrained into them that it's like you have to look a certain way, you have to move a certain way, appear a certain way.
Yeah.
Getting that drilled into you as a kid. Like, I'm happy to hear you didn't do fucking child pageants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, that's how stuff like bulimia, anorexia, like, there's a lot of ways that can come into somebody's life, both male and female. But,
right.
Shit, if you're a pageant child,
yeah,
and they're like, hey, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, like it could be a real issue.
There's so much pressure involved there for sure, which is why I definitely think if any young girl is thinking about doing pageantry, they need to make that decision themselves, and even modeling or anything within the entertainment industry for sure. And yeah, just take care of themselves mentally and physically too. So yeah, there's so much pressure involved there for sure.
Yeah, sorry, I was just checking the camera because it was a little off. And I've got, this podcast is giving me OCD, where it's like a little thing is off. I'm like, fuck, is it actually doing the job? And it is. Okay. No, yeah, it's a very scary thing. And like, again, it's not to talk badly on
parents, yeah.
On anything like that. But no, but the parents can get fucking psycho because then it's like, the way I kind of look at it is the equivalent of like the pageant mom that's like forcing it on the kid. That's the equivalent of like the athletic dad that never lived out their NFL, their MLB, their NBA dreams. Yeah. And then they're like, you have to keep going, son. And he's like, I like poetry.
Yeah. I want to play the flute. Mom, I like the trumpet.
That's real shit, though. You know what I mean? And like, what's funny? You say it like that because my buddy that I sat down with last night, he just had his first kid, and I'm glad that dude's a dad. His wife is dope. He's a good guy. They're gonna be great parents, I'm sure. And the way he had phrased it, he was like, "Yeah, I just want my kid to be exposed to a lot of different things, and whatever he's into, let him dive into that."
Right.
Like, that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so 48 hours before the pageant day.
Okay.
What is going through your head? Is it just like, oh shit, on repeat? Like what is going through your head?
So it's funny. So I really just had this mentality that I was gonna win. Every day I was telling myself I'm gonna be Miss New Mexico. I'm gonna be Miss New Mexico. And I'm not really one for manifestation exactly, but I think I mean, the whole point of manifestation really is just having that confidence in yourself in achieving whatever goals you have, right? So, I mean, I was really just telling myself that I was going to do it and this had to be reality for me. So I wasn't, I was trying not to be nervous. And
Hang out with.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're cool. It took you 40 minutes, but you're cool. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, it took me to be Miss New Mexico for you to ask me to get on here, so...
This is very true.
But that's okay.
This is very true.
That's okay.
No, it's funny because, like, you never... And this is talking about vanity, but it's a very, like... You know, because I look at my numbers, I'm like, I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I'm not great. Like, I'm not fucking exploding or anything like that, but I'm doing okay.
Dude, you're, like, the biggest podcast here.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I'm so serious. Like... OnlyKings, I was like, yeah, I need to get on that somehow. I was like, I'm manifesting that too. So take note of that and get me on there.
That's funny. Yeah, and what was funny is I heard this in an interview with Tyler, the Creator, a couple weeks ago, where he was like, to people that are doing whatever they're doing, they don't feel like they're getting enough views, they don't feel like they don't get enough. Because I am not, I mean, ashamed it's a thing in my life, but I'm not ashamed to admit I'm addicted to my phone. I'm addicted to my phone. I'm addicted to social media. Like today, I put up a stand-up clip, and like a fucking idiot, I'm there like refreshing it. Like, okay, is it getting views?
Yeah.
Is it getting likes? What was not good about it? And it's like in the clip, I'm doing just fine, but it's like, okay, why is it not hitting the algorithm the way I want it to? Why is it not doing this? Why is it not doing that? And then, but he goes, you never know who's watching. And then whenever the time comes for anything positive, now you have this whole backlog. You're building a resume. You're building a portfolio of everything that you're doing.
Right.
So whether it's stuff like this, whether it's like your page with all of your modeling shoots that you've done, like whenever stuff like this happens, they can go to your social media and be like, okay, maybe she doesn't have 500,000 followers or whatever, but she has all of this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like more than ever, because everyone's trying to like be something. You know what I mean?
I feel like a lot of that is happening recently where like somebody's like trying to get famous or do something like entertainment wise somehow. Yeah. I feel like that's super heavy right now.
Which isn't a bad thing. And again, I think it's a product of the pandemic, and I think it's going to die out too.
Okay.
Much with everything, I think like for instance, like stand up right now, I saw a statistic where it was like stand up ticket sales for live shows are at like a 350% like than it has been in the last 10 years or some shit like that. So it's huge right now. But the bubble's going to pop, and it's going to die down, and people are going to fall out of love with it, whether they're trying to do it, whether they're watching it, whatever. But the core audience is still going to be there. Like, it's not going away.
Yeah.
Just like modeling, it's like pageantry, acting, music. Everyone's trying to do these things. So everyone has access to social media. And the example I like to use is Matt Rife. People think that Matt Rife just blew up overnight. But if you look at the guy's story, he's actually been doing stand-up since he was 16 years old.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I thought he blew up overnight.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because he had a couple TikToks he had one TikTok go viral, then the rest of them did, and now he's Matt Rife selling out world tours, whatever. But no, that dude was on Wild 'N Out. He was doing stand-up at the age of 16.
That's right. He was on Wild 'N Out.
Yeah, he was doing all these different things. Like, he grew up, I forget where he was growing. I know he grew up in Ohio, but a lot of the stuff, like the reason he has the personality he does, the way he was able to be on Wild 'N Out for a little bit, is he played a lot of black rooms. Wow. So that's why he has that personality of like if you watch, like he's not at the level of a lot of these performers, but if you like personality wise, if you look at the original, like the original like Def Jam on HBO, like all of that, all the Def Jam comedy, he has that type of energy. Right. But all this to say that people think, oh yeah, he had one thing blow up and now he's a comedian. Like, no, the guy's kind of been doing it for 10 years. It's just he was prepared. It took a long fucking time, but he was prepared for the moment.
Right.
And I bring all this up because when you would say like, yeah, I haven't followed the podcast, I was like, okay, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you can tell or not, but my target audience isn't exactly pageantry.
No.
It's
no, but that's okay. That means this is a unique situation.
It is. No, so I was excited to do it. So anyway, you're 48 hours out. You are telling yourself over and over again, I'm going to do it. I'm going to win. I know you mentioned a little bit earlier that you are a Christian, and it's on your profile as well.
Yes.
Because I'm with you on that same page. Like, well, manifestation, there's bits of it that I agree with. But it's also like, the bits of it that I agree with is also just like, hey, if you put active work towards something, you're probably going to get a result.
Yes.
Much like in the same way, like you can pray to God all you want. You can do that over and over, but nothing's going to happen if you don't do anything. And I think that's a really important beat that a lot of, not just Christians, but like anyone who believes in a higher power, that they miss.
Right.
Where it's like you can pray and ask and beg and whatever, but for anything outside of forgiveness, God's not going to give you anything.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Well, I mean, love and mercy and grace and all those very important positive things. But my point is like if you're like, hey, God, I really need a new job. Hey, I really need a new, like my car just broke down. How the fuck am I going to figure this out?
Right.
All these things are happening in my life. How can I figure this out? But then you just sit on your ass and eat Cheetos. And nothing's going to happen.
Absolutely.
And you're going to get exactly what you're putting into it.
Yeah.
So you're going to do it with that mindset. And the day of, what is like the day of, it was held in Las Cruces, right?
Yes.
Did I see that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. So you go down to Las Cruces. God bless that little town.
I know it's cute. It's like it's cute.
I will say this. I'm not the biggest fan of Las Cruces, but they have an amazing cigar lounge down there. They do. They have an amazing cigar lounge. It was funny because like I haven't actually sat down and like spent a lot of time there. But I remember I walked in because I was hanging out with my buddies, and I'm wearing like pretty much what I'm wearing right now, except like cargo shorts.
Okay.
And like, so I walk in, and it's like the staff are wearing suits, and there's like thousands of dollars bottle of whiskey on the wall.
Oh my God.
And I walk in and I'm like, they're very nice to me. I wish I could know the names so I could shout them out, but like they come up to me like, sir, how are you doing? I was waiting for them to say, are you lost? Like, you know?
No, I mean, it's cool that you showed up as yourself, right?
Yeah, I just showed up. I was
or
like,
did you just not get the memo?
I didn't get to know this is a fancy ass place. I just thought, hey, I looked up cigar lounges so I could buy a cigar or a couple cigars, and that came up, highly reviewed. Didn't read the reviews, didn't look at the pictures. I was like, hey, this place seems nice. Got a little money to spend. I'm gonna buy a couple of good cigars for me and my buddies. Buy a nice torch.
Yeah.
We have a good night. No, and there's like the mob in the back drinking fucking whiskey. It's like smoke. Like the
Oh my
entire back was
gosh.
just clouded in smoke.
Looks like a mob, huh?
Yeah, it was like a mob hangout. I was like, this is cool, but I am not in the tax bracket to belong here. I'm gonna get my tobacco and leave.
Yeah.
Have a great time. Anyway, so you're down in Las Cruces. It's the day of. What is the day of the Miss New Mexico look like?
So yeah, there is hair and makeup being done. So pretty much during that whole time while you're waiting for everybody to arrive there, you're sitting in the back with all of these girls, and you're getting your hair and makeup done. You're kind of just praying and hoping that that you're the girl that they pick. And again, I think that's where the challenge is because you're making friends with all of these other, very smart, very beautiful girls. But then this is a competition. And even though you might be sitting next to someone whom you admire yourself and who you think is gorgeous and who you think has that potential too, you have to also kind of reflect and remind yourself that, hey, I'm going against you though. And I'm walking on that stage wanting them to pick me. And so I think those are both of the two different perspectives that you have to keep in mind. So anyway, the day of, kind of like how you were saying, you could pray all you want and you could want this as much as you want, but I think it's about applying yourself. And if you want it that bad, you're going to apply yourself and you're going to do the practice and you're going to do whatever it takes to have that. So it was anxious feeling and but also excitement at the same time because I had so much that I wanted to prove to people. I mean, for all of the progress that I had made. So I was also super excited about that.
Yeah, no, it's good to, in a healthy way, it's good to walk in with a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is, okay, I've been here before, I've done this dance, and this is it.
Right, exactly. Especially because I knew what it was like too. So that was a huge advantage that, I've had the practice already. I've been here on this same stage before. Now it's just, what did you learn these past 2 years? Now go ahead and do that on stage in front of the people that came to support you. Because that's also where the pressure comes in too. You have all these people contributing to it. You don't want to disappoint anybody, so.
Yeah. No, that's very true. That's good you had the mindset. I was going to bring that up too. Like, what was the energy like in the room beforehand?
With the girls?
Yeah, when you guys were all there. Because, like, again, I don't know the female. I don't look. I'm a dude. I don't know the female experience. I don't. I just, you know what I mean. Like I'm not a part of that. And yeah, I don't know what it's like day to day to be a woman, let alone be like in that competitive environment where it's all based on.
You don't think you could be Mr. New Mexico?
You know what? I don't think so. I think my various, I wouldn't call them addictions because, it's not life crippling yet, but just, me and Johnny Walker have a great relationship right now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to break up with Copenhagen. He's been a real bitch, but, I have a real great relationship with these people and I don't want to ruin that.
Okay.
And competition gets it. That's why I like being a stand-up. Stand-up is great. You can be tall, you can be short, you can be hairy, you can be bald.
Just be funny.
Yeah, you can be a Dr. Seuss poem. Just literally be funny.
Just make people laugh.
Yeah, show up and make people laugh. That's as easy as that sounds. But that's why I have found my people. It's like, yep, you guys are a bunch of fucking degenerates, but you're all great people. Let's have a couple of beers and make these people laugh.
I feel like that would be great company to be around. I mean, you're just...
Usually it is.
You're just laughing the whole time, I'm sure.
Usually.
Okay, that's good.
Usually it is.
All right.
I've also been very blessed that I asked a little bit earlier about the mentors you have or people you have keeping you in the right directions. I have that right now. You know what I mean? I'm very, very blessed to have people in this stand-up scene, stand-up community, what people want to call it, that I've become friends with, and they've given me the right tips. They've given me the right advice. Like I remember this really amazing comic. His name's Steph Darnell. He was headlining the first show that I did, and this show was at a brewery. It's a free show, but it was pretty packed in there. I'd say for that brewery, it's like about 30, 40 people or so. That's
a pretty good amount.
Yeah, and especially for a free show, and I was nervous as shit. And so it was, the host was A-Marie, the person that got me to really start. She had booked me a month after that open mic where I bombed my ass off. And then it was the openers, this guy, amazing comic too. His name's Black Mike. He's been doing comedy for like 15 years, I think, 15, 16 years.
Wow.
So it was him, who's like known as an amazing comic in the city. So it's him, and then it was me, and then it was Steph. So I'm sandwiched in between killers.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and looking back on it, they set me up to succeed because opening a cold room is fucking hard.
Right.
So just riding off the momentum, you just don't suck. Now, granted, if it's your first show, it's very hard to do, but it's like, okay, great, I have the momentum of this I can ride off of, and even if I bomb, Steph can pick it up and run to the races. So I'm in the back, I'm looking at my notebook, I'm psyched out of my mind, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, I can almost, like, as I'm reading my material, I can feel it going in one ear, out the other. I'm like, oh, shit. And he took me aside, and he was like, listen, man, it's your first show.
Yeah.
I get it, but just pay attention to who's laughing. There's people back here who aren't laughing. Fuck them. Don't worry about it. But listen, even if you bomb, man, fuck these people.
Yeah.
All right, like, they couldn't do what we're doing.
No.
You're getting up there to do stand-up, man. This is one of the hardest art forms you can do.
Yeah.
Don't fuck up, but just don't worry about it.
Well, are you allowed to bring your book up there, or do you have to remember all of your jokes?
That. No.
You're all reading your phone. You're like, hey guys, I have another one for you.
Well, that's it's funny you say that. Well, because here's my thing. If you're going to an open mic, which is just like, they hold them at a bunch of breweries here. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to an open mic and you're trying out, like, the whole point of an open mic is to try out new material or to actively work on material that you've been doing, right? Like, you don't go there with your A shit. People that do, and I don't understand it, but you don't go there with your A stuff to kill, because half the time, like, for instance, on Monday night, when I went to the open mic they hold at Lizard Tail, there were only comics there. There were no people like regular, like, just, I want to go have a beer.
Yeah. A
couple showed up towards like halfway in, but they went us out on the patio because they're like, yeah, I don't want to watch bad comedy. No, I'm going to sit outside because it's an open mic. Most of it's not good.
Yeah.
And so, it's all comics. Half of them aren't paying attention to you because why would they? They're looking at their material, they're writing their stuff. They might chuckle or whatever if you do well, but it's supportive, but like, they're not there to see you. They're there to do their 5 minutes and get the fuck out of there.
Wow.
Right? You know what I mean? So that's, by all means, bring your phone up there, bring your notes up there, whatever. But no, if you're doing a show, I extend this to free shows. If you're doing a stand-up show and people, whether they spend only their time is valuable. But if they spend money to go see you and you walk up there and you pull out note cards, you shouldn't be fucking booked. No, like some real shit, because there's people that do that. And I've made this known to them, like, hey, you need to cut the shit.
Yeah.
Because it's unprofessional. You know what I mean? Because on some real shit, like, there was somebody, I'm not going to, they know who they are.
If you know, you know.
No, yeah. And well, we were at the club downtown, and the person went on stage and literally fucking took out their phone on a tripod, put it on some stranger's table, and was like, hey, record this for me, with some expletives in there.
Oh,
and
no.
I want to completely single this person out, but put it on there. And in like the clock is running. Like you have a set amount of time, right, for your set.
Yeah.
So there's a clock in the back of like 90% of comedy clubs, and there's a clock in the back, and I'm watching, and the clock is running. So as she's supposed to be doing her set or their set, she's fucking unlocks her phone, like in real time is unlocking her phone, presses record, goes up, does a couple of jokes, gets a few laughs. She's trying to pick it up, and then forgets her material, pulls out her notes, and into the mic goes, okay, so I've already talked about this. Oh, yeah. And then goes, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I turn to my buddy who, I don't want to single him out, but turn to my buddy who's in the back of the club with me, and I'm like, what the fuck are we watching right now?
Oh, my gosh.
And that's the type of shit that, like, because I've only been doing it for about a year, but I love stand-up. I've loved this since I was like a little kid, and I'm very glad I got the confidence to do it now.
Yeah.
I had to get pushed to do it, but I'm glad I'm doing it. And God, like, it's like, what the fuck are we? And that type of shit, it makes me want to go like, why did they get 8 minutes and I didn't tonight?
No kidding, yeah.
That's
because
crazy.
That's embarrassing. Then that's secondhand embarrassment for you guys. Because
Yeah.
then it's like, why didn't I get more time, or why, you know?
Well, it brings down the community. It brings down the scenes because, like you said beforehand, like we said, Albuquerque's growing. It's still becoming a thing. We're establishing. We're saying, hey, we have great live music. There are amazing comedians in this town, but we're just trying to get the name out. And so, like, I liken it to Stan Lee, the creator of Marvel Comics.
Okay.
He has a very famous quote from, I think, the late 70s into the 80s, and he goes, I try to write every Marvel comic as if this is the first book someone's picked off the rack, so that if they read it, they're like, oh, I want more of this.
That's a pretty high standard.
Right. Well, I mean, that's why they are where they are, right? Yeah. They're kind of going down the downturn right now since he passed away. But, you know, that's the mindset you got to have when you're building something. And, like, you don't get a second chance at a first impression.
Right.
So for a lot of these people, whether they're going to a free show at a brewery or you're going down to the comedy club, whether that's Dry Heat downtown or Quesada's up in Rio Rancho, regardless of where you're going, you look at that crowd, I guarantee you that half of that crowd is their very first stand-up show ever, let alone in New Mexico. It could be their very first stand-up show, and if that's what they see, they're like, oh, fuck this. I'm not coming back. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, it's some real shit. And I feel for the club owners, because there's only so many, like, you can pull from, like, local comedians, because we're not a huge scene. Like, I'd say there's maybe 30 to 35 active comics.
Here in Albuquerque?
Yeah, here in Albuquerque. And for varying degrees of, like, the absolute monsters that have been doing it for a long time, and then, like, me, who's at the very bottom trying to work my way up.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, trying to work my way up, trying to get better at this, that type of shit. And then everybody in between. So, you know, I understand the struggle where it's like, well, if we're doing a lineup of 5 people and we want to do shows every weekend and we're doing this and there's 2 shows a week, and like that's a tough it's a tough order to fill.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's no, don't pull out your nose at a fucking stand-up show. No.
Noted.
Negatory.
No, and I would never do that, but I just wanted to see if that was
Yeah.
if that was even a thing. Like,
No,
if that was.
it's funny because I'm kind of getting a read on what your sense of humor is, but there's a really good comedian. He's very dark. His name's Anthony Jeselnik.
I've never heard of him.
Yeah, he's a very dark comedian. Very deadpan, very dry humor, but it's very dark, very morbid.
I'm the same way.
And yeah, so you'll love him. He's the shit. And he has a joke that he did a couple of years ago where he walks up on stage and he gets the mic, puts the mic stand away, and he pulls out his notes and he goes, "Oh no, I have these not because I don't remember my set. I just don't respect you as an audience." And the whole place is like, bah! they lose their mind laughing because they know what they're expecting with him, right? So I think about that where I'm like, but there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Like imagine if you like when you go up for Miss is it Miss America or Miss USA?
Miss USA.
Miss USA. Okay, so you go up there and they're like, so Mackenzie, how do you feel about insert whatever? And you're like, 2 seconds. And you just reach into the back of your dress and you pull out what did you ask again?
I'm like pulling it out from my bra. I'm like, okay, hold on.
Yeah, the abortion joke. Okay, got it. Or abortion question. Got it. Generally bad. And then you just put it back.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not going to look good on you.
No, that would,
It's all your presentation. It's how, because people, I mean, I'm sure that you experienced this going up and winning Miss New Mexico. If you're up there, like, I'm sure you saw it from the other performers or like models.
Right.
What are they, like, what is it called? Is it models? Is it like the incumbents, like to...
I would say contestants.
Contestants. Okay, so you see the other contestants. Yeah, see, there you go. So you read. So you see the other contestants, and you can tell which ones are nervous. And so if you can tell, the audience can tell, and you smell blood in the water.
Yeah.
That can derail everything. You've already talked about that. How that can just derail everything. It's the same thing with stand-up. If you walk up there and you're nervous, and
you can tell immediately.
And if you don't know how to either play into that, because there are comics that just like have nervous energy and they just make a joke out of it.
Yeah.
Like, that's a thing. But, if you don't know how to work around that or just how to shove it down until later, there is blood. Like, I remember the first time I did Dry Heat, this is back in March. I was like, oh shit, okay, this is a really big show. It's sold out. It's
a pretty big one.
And it was the last show at their location. The guy that put me on, like, he put me right. It went like me and then headliner. So I have to like.
Oh wow.
I have to crack and fucking. I remember. So I went up there and I had my water as a can of liquid death, and I had it on the stool. I'm telling my jokes, whatever. And while they were laughing, I went to go drink. And as I'm raising the can to my mouth, I can feel my hand shaking. And I'm like, I'm not nervous. Why is this happening? Oh, God, I'm nervous. And so I had to pack that shit down, and we can deal with that later. So, yeah, it's all about how you present yourself and all that stuff. So, anyway, what does that day look like as you're getting on stage?
So, I think what should be noted is that before it's your turn on stage, you're waiting backstage for you to walk up. So
right.
All of these girls, right, let's say 60 girls, 50, 60 girls are standing next to each other, waiting in this line backstage while the one girl is on stage. And I think that's when it can get most, where you could feel most nervous, because you're just having to kind of stand there and wait for your turn.
Oh, yeah, I mean, let's wrap up with the original question I have for you. Sorry, is like the energy in the room. You talk about the competitiveness. You talk about how, it's like, yeah, you guys are all great, but I'm here to win. So how are you interacting with people? How are you like, because again, I was talking a little bit earlier, like that female experience, like dudes, if we have a problem, it's like, hey, do we have a fucking issue, man? Like, why are you staring at me like that? Are we cool? But then again, women are a little more passive. They're a little more, they want to stay elegant, especially in an environment like that.
Yeah.
So is it like you could tell like who's looking at people with like cat eyes and shit? Who's like?
Well, I might have done pageantry these past few years, but like I'm also a Scorpio and I'm pretty feisty, and if you're looking at me the wrong way or something, I might just like I have to hold myself back. So
that's not astrology. That's bullshit. That's called being a New Mexican. And that's called growing up in Albuquerque.
Yeah, true.
That's
true.
what that is.
Yeah.
There is no amount of star signs that will change that for you. Okay, that is growing up in a place that has a part of the city called the War Zone. That is what that is.
No kidding. Yeah. So, I mean, definitely, especially in that environment, knowingly that you are, not only are the judges looking at you, but you have all these girls judging you, kind of like you have these girls looking at you and being like, oh, like, what is she wearing? What is her dress like? What does her body look like? And so you're
I appreciate the honesty. No, because that's some real shit. That's real.
Yeah.
That's real.
You're having all these girls look at you. Everybody's looking at you. And that's where your confidence has to come into play, and to where that doesn't even bother you, where you're having these girls might look you up and down. Or also there's girls who are super nice too. Like, it's not just
Can you trust that though? if they're being super nice to you, like, how are you doing? Oh my God, your dress is so beautiful. I hope, oh, best of luck out there. And they turn like, you stupid bitch, I'm gonna win. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here?
No, true. You have to be able to recognize who is real and who is fake, because you have to be able to be like, was that a genuine compliment, or is she low-key hating on me and she's just feeding me
I'd imagine there's gotta be some
ego?
kind of like, yeah, exactly. Feed the ego a little bit, get some mind games going where you let your guard down. It's like, oh no, I got all these people say they like me. I must got this.
No, you ever see those TikToks where it's like the guys are making fun of the girls, where it's like, oh my gosh, I love your hair. Like, it's just super faked out. And it's just, that's why you have to be able to, again, just recognize who are your enemies and who are those that, you know, could potentially benefit you, even if you win or not. Those who uplift you and those who encourage you. And, you know, because I've even had girls, and I've told other girls this myself, where I'm like, you know, if I don't win, I hope you do. And I think that's super, because you're just being real about it. You're saying, you know, I know the woman that I am, and I know what I could do to potentially have this title, but I also recognize you as a woman, to where I'm like, you know, if I don't win this thing, like, I hope you do. And I think that's okay to say, because while you're supporting another woman, you're also letting that woman know, hey, I could also be the same thing.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, it's also like most things, it's based on, it's the recipient, you know, that makes it offensive or not, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because then it's like, because you could look at that and be like, oh yeah, she's being nice, she's being realistic, that's awesome. Or you're saying, hey, you're a great second place.
Oh my gosh.
You are a phenomenal second, a third even. I mean, look at you. I mean,
no, that's actually, I didn't even think about that perspective. Like, if people took that offensively.
well, people can take anything offensively. Like, and it's just based on like what type of person. I mean, granted, that doesn't give you carte blanche to just say what the fuck you want to people at all.
Yeah.
But also, and again, I'm biased, but you know, you could say anything to anyone and they'll get offended. You know what I mean?
It's a super sensitive world we live in today.
Well, it's just based also on the environment you're in, the context in which it's being given. I mean, the nicest things can be ugly in the wrong frame.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just all about context and shit like that.
Yeah.
And again, the only person you should really care about is, especially in that kind of situation, is it's yourself. Like, am I doing my best to present myself the best way that I can?
Right.
I know the contents of my heart. God knows the contents of my heart. I'm not out here to, I'm out here to win, but I'm not trying to break anybody down, like disparage these people.
Yeah.
Because the extreme competitiveness of that also gets snuffed out pretty easy. And it's like, oh, well, because I mean, I'd imagine there's a bit of a crossover from things like pageantry and modeling to like acting and like other entertainment fields. So you don't know, like, let's say, I mean, I don't know if you do, but let's say you have interest in being an actress or some shit like that, right? And let's say you do transition over to that at some point in your professional career. You could run into somebody that you used to do a pageant with 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And if they treated you super poorly back then, you're like, oh, all right, I'm not saying this person is the same person they were 5 years ago, but I know I have to keep my guard on with this person.
Right.
And then the flip side of that is like, oh, I worked with them 5 years ago. They were actually nice to me. Now we're going to be in the same thing together. Awesome. We already have that like foot in the door with each other. We have this built-in rapport. We know that this and the other. Yeah. It's a small fucking world.
It is.
It really is. So you're standing in line. You're waiting to go out on the stage.
Yes.
Is there like I'd have to imagine there's like a switch that gets flipped when you like walk out. You're like just like, okay. And then
there was definitely a switch.
Yeah.
But I can't say it on this podcast. But I used, in the nicest terms, I kind of just I dug into the pain that I've been through. I kind of, right before I walked out on stage, I had, pretty much said, like, to heck with all my haters, to heck with whoever doubted me, to heck with the things that, my family's been through, to heck with anybody that, thought I couldn't do it. I was saying all of those things repeatedly in my head before I was walking on stage. And not that I'm trying to promote any negativity or anything.
That's not negativity.
But I think it's super powerful when you can, instead of being like, oh, I'm confident to go do this, you could actually utilize maybe the darkness or the pain that you've been through to give you fuel.
Well,
to be a badass.
Well,
Excuse my language.
No, that's what. Have you been listening to me for the last hour? You're okay. You're doing all right. No, I mean that's okay because I forget who said this. I want to say it was Jordan Peterson. I think. But life is full of suffering anyway, right? Life is full of suffering of varying degrees.
Absolutely.
And as much as you can, choose what you're going to suffer over.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to do it anyway. Right. And
you either suffer at McDonald's or you suffer at
in the gym. Yeah, no, exactly. And that's a good example because fast food, while amazing, like I was coming back from the fucking comedy club up in Rio Rancho, and there's this nice shiny billboard. They brought back the Buffalo Ranch at Whataburger, and I was just like, oh fuck, man, I'm trying to lose weight. Can we not?
You can do it sometimes, though.
yeah.
You can have fun.
Oh, yeah, because I was like, all right, this week I have to fucking, yeah. Anyway, but no, you're going to suffer in life. You're going to, and it's never going to end. It's just, it comes, just like everything else in life, it comes in waves.
Yeah.
And so as much as you can control your own suffering and choose what you're suffering over, you're going to, like, that's what you should be doing.
Right.
And if you have suffering in your life that you had no decision in, you had no choice in, and it's been brought to you, and it's like, hey, this is your life now, use that. Why let that sit? Why let it sit and just bring you down?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I do my due diligence. We don't have to go into everything that your family has endured.
Yes.
I have no interest in going into that if you don't want to.
No. Yeah.
But, with the cards that you've been dealt, if you can turn that into a positive, even if it's not 100% of it, right?
Absolutely.
Because 100% of that is not going to get turned into a positive, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because of how life works. But if you can take 30, 50, 70, 80% of that and like, you know what? Fuck it. That's fuel and use it.
That's literally what I said in my head. So you said you brought the words out of my mouth. I was just like, you.
Yeah, let's use it.
Yeah.
Because what's the alternative? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's it's important to have that mindset. So you finally walk out on stage. How long are you on stage for?
I would probably say the most, maybe a minute and a half, if that. Maybe a minute.
That's brutal.
Maybe a minute, maybe.
So what are they doing?
Yeah.
Or what are you doing?
So one girl is walking and you come out as she's having her moment. So you're kind of just like on stage, like showcasing yourself, pretty much preparing the audience for you. And
wait. So let's say, okay, so you have, so you've got person, right?
That's me.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say you have this person. She's on stage giving.
Let's say I'm the audience.
Yeah.
So she's walking. This is her. I'm literally chilling right there until she's done.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know why they let a girl go out before.
And what is she doing here? Is she getting asked questions?
No, she's just walking. She's just doing her turns. She's kind of just like
she's just performing.
Herself. Yeah.
Showcasing. That's a good way to put it. She's showcasing herself.
And then I'm kind of just chilling there.
And you're in the back like, I will fucking stab you.
Okay, not that intense.
You've got like a banana peel from Mario Kart. Like, oh, take the wrong step. I swear to God.
No, you are there.
No, you're there with the smile on your face. You're like,
exactly.
That's hilarious.
And I don't know why they do that. I don't know why they don't why they're having, almost like another girl be showed when that's like another girl's moment. I don't understand that.
It sounds to me, it sounds like mind games. If I had to take a guess, like a realistic guess at it, it sounds like mind games because it's like, okay, we're getting a look at who this person is that's currently getting showcased, but we're also seeing like almost a quiet personality of the next person.
Right.
Can they stand?
You're getting a sneak peek.
Right. Like, can they stand there and just be a model? Literally a model. Can you just be a statue?
Yeah.
And just hang out? But then,
it's your turn.
Like, keep your composure. But then also, do you quake a little under pressure? Again, quietly, right? Passively. Do you quake under pressure? Do you get annoyed? Are you like ugly? Are you like this? You're like, towards the person
Staring.
that's modeling or that's showcasing, walking around. Like, it sounds like a bit of mind games, if I'm being completely frank.
No, yeah, I think it's definitely they're challenging you. They're
Yeah.
challenging your mindset because you could either be standing there and literally telling yourself like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh," and panicking because they're all just kind of staring at you a little bit while they're still trying to like keep their attention on this girl. But as soon as she walks away, like the eyes are on you.
Right.
So you're either panicking and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is really happening," or you're kind of just standing there and be like, "Okay, like I'll be patient, but I know that when she walks off stage, like this is my opportunity to do what I came here to do."
Right. And how many people are in the audience generally? Like, if you had a ballpark.
Definitely at least 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good sized audience.
Yeah. I think people, there's enough people that definitely support the pageant industry here. So it's good that we have that type of audience. But another thing I don't get is why it's held in Las Cruces. But I mean, my director, she's kind of based out of there. So that's kind of why it's held out there. But
I was going to say, when I was in contact with her, I saw an El Paso area code.
yeah.
So that makes a little bit of sense if
Right.
they were doing it down there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, she does New Mexico as well as Texas.
Okay.
So
El Paso's a weird little town.
it is. It's small.
And it's a weird little town. I spent a lot of time down there. My grandparents and my uncle lived down there for the first, well, up until I was like, I think, like 18, 19-ish. So
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time down there. It's a fun little town.
I feel like it's also there's not much there yet.
Yeah, I haven't been back there recently. Because I haven't had like the need to. It's been a few years.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not a whole lot going on down there. It's just a college town. You know, they have UTEP, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
But okay, so you're up there, and you're modeling or showcasing, and you're doing your walk, and then do you just finish your walk and you get off stage and then you wait?
Yeah.
How long are you waiting until they pick who the top 5 are going to be?
So they bring it down to the top 15.
Okay.
And then People's Choice, which is an extra person. So then it's top 16. And then after that, they go down to top 5.
Is that just the audience that's choosing that 16th person?
So I wouldn't say the audience, but it's you're casting votes for people throughout before the pageant starts.
As a performer?
So people
Or the
can,
audience?
Yeah, people can vote for you. Like
Oh,
the
okay.
audience or anybody.
Okay,
Anybody
okay.
can vote for you, which is why primarily it goes down to top 15, but then depending on, how many votes you get or something. So you could actually you can be considered in the top 15, which would make top 16 just by having people vote for you.
Right.
So yeah, there's that. So they go down to that and then top 5 and then it's down to runner up and the winner.
So as they're selecting you, they're whittling you down. Are you like, oh shit, all right, top 15. Oh shit, all right, top 5. And so what is like the whittling? I hate to break it down to that, but like the whittling down process, what's that like?
So you actually, you're kind of just waiting backstage and then they call all of the girls out and they call the top 15. So those who make the top 15, they end up having to perform again in their swimsuit as well as their gown. So that way the judges can get a second look at you and then that way boil it down to who's top 5 and who's their winner.
Are you walking different based on your outfit? Whether you're in your gown or a swimsuit?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's different walks and presents for each.
Interesting. Can you like explain that a little bit?
So the swim is more athletic. It's more, I guess you could say like enthusiastic. And then for the gown, it has to be really just, classic, very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like
just
elegant?
Yeah. Just super, super soft, super elegant. So the way that you're walking is they want the two different looks. They want how you walk as if you were modeling and, like the happy swimsuit wear. And then they want something more, classical.
Okay, interesting. So they get it down to you and the other person.
Yes.
So
I'm like revisioning it, like when you're talking about it, it's crazy.
So what you're standing next to that person, what is in front of that person? You got the person in between the two. You've got to read off who the
Miss
runner,
Bianca, yeah.
who the runner up is. Are you about to pass out at that point because your heart is just beating out of your chest?
Dude, I was like hyperventilating. You could like tell in the video, I'm like, you could literally see it in the video. I'm like breathing so heavily. I'm like literally like doing my hands like this. I'm rubbing her hands and
You're like moisturizing your hands.
I'm like, ooh, does this feel good? Are you okay?
She lets go of your hands. It looks like she just got out of a swimming pool. Like, what the fuck is going on?
She's like, why is she touching me like that? No, yeah, I was, what a surreal moment. I just can't stop using that word because it's such a different feeling imagining it compared to when you're actually living it and you're like, oh my gosh, like I've prayed for this moment. I imagined that this moment would be real, and so now I'm facing another obviously person that could have potentially had this spot. And so I mean, it was just, yeah, I was breathing super heavily and I couldn't believe I was standing right there.
Did it when they read off her name as the runner-up, did it register that like, oh fuck, I won?
Not right away. If you look back to the video, I kind of like paused for a second and then that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, like it was just, it needed to settle in first because I truly like, even though so much hard work and dedication that I did, I mean, at least in my position, I still thought like, oh my God, like this is real. Like, I can't believe I'm the winner.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was, it didn't settle in my brain right away. I paused for a second before I got excited and started crying. And, yeah.
So when you finally win, they put the crown on you and you're the shit now, officially.
Gotta stay humble, folks.
What does it look like for you when you get off stage, when like the aftermath, like the dust is settled? What did the rest of the day look like? Because how do you come down from that?
Right? I mean, how do you even at such a high, right?
Yeah.
And you're having to deal with all of the emotions. I mean, it was pride. It was excitement. I was crying happy tears because, you know, there's obviously with my story, there's people who I wish could have been there to see that. And so I know just, it was such a good feeling to know. And I know that in the video, I'm kind of like looking up and I'm like kind of like screaming a little bit because that's literally what I thought in my head. I was like, dang, like just, you know, I know that the people that are looking down on me right now are super happy about this. And it was just so reassuring and so, I don't know. Yeah. So when we went backstage, I had my grandmother, my aunt that flew in from Chicago at the time. You know, I had my brother who has autism. So I'm sure all of this is super just shocking to him too, because he's like, why is my sister wearing a crown? And what is all of this? And, you know, who does she think she is? Funny thing, I need to wear a crown on my head. I run the house. He's like, who the heck does she think she is?
All right. That's funny.
Yeah.
No, that's cool that you had them all there. That had to have been like a real special. Obviously, I'm stating the obvious.
Oh
here,
yeah,
but
everybody
like,
was in tears, and it was just super like it was just beautiful, to say the least. It was beautiful that everybody was crying. I loved it. We all love crying.
Yeah, it's the way you phrase it's very funny. In a good way. So it's interesting now because I think what people, and I certainly don't understand a lot of it. Once you are crowned Miss New Mexico, obviously the next step is USA. Like, people understand that.
Automatically.
But in the interim, it's like, what do you do with this now? Because it's like you have this thing that's like, okay, pageantry, well, I would say modeling, but like outside of the extremes,
It's
like
a platform.
like the extremely famous models, right? It's like, okay, pageantry and modeling is kind of like not niche, but it's like it's its own community, right? It has its own dedicated fan base. It has its own thing. But then if you go to like I remember as a little kid, my mom, she worked for, back when this was a thing, she worked for Radio Disney. And so there was a lot of like city-sponsored, state-sponsored events that we would go to. Like she would go to, like bring your kid to work, you know, because like we have a babysitter. But she would have to go to work to represent like the radio station and shit like that. And a lot of these state-sponsored or city-sponsored events that you'd have like Miss Albuquerque there, Miss New Mexico would be there, or stuff like that. It's like that would just be like a representative of the state. So it's like, what do you do with this now? Is there, like, I'd imagine there's a sizable amount of pressure, but it's like, is there a pathway for you to do things? Like, because obviously there's causes that you care about, that you care deeply about.
Right.
But it's like, yeah, like, what do you do with this now?
That's a great question. So I've made it a promise to myself that I don't want to, in my year of reigning, I don't really want to, I guess, expose what my plans are, or I guess I want to keep it a surprise primarily, but I mean, based on what I advocate for, it's those with disabilities. I definitely want to be in that community. And I mean, we already are, considering that my brother has autism. So I coach him in Special Olympics. I want to involve myself in a lot of that, as well as I want to visit schools, all of the schools that I went to, because I've been to a lot of the schools here in New Mexico. So I definitely want to show up there and just kind of be, a speaker to this young generation, just so that way they can get a chance to see who I am, and just to use this platform for somebody that they could reach out to me, and even if it's help or whatever the case is, because not only is this a platform for getting to, I guess, achieve things and stuff, but I also want to be like that one person that they feel like they can reach out to, and who doesn't have a big head over this, to where I would respond, and that if they needed something, I would be there for them. So anyway, so definitely, visit the schools and hospitals here. I mean, you could really utilize this however you want, and whatever you want to do with this platform, you should use it for whatever you are passionate about, really, and what changes you want to make here, and what impact you want to make as well.
Well, and it's not surprising, obviously, you bring up about the helping with special needs and all of that, because I mean, again, I did a little bit of homework, and I mean, you've been on that since like high school.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole not an expose, but there's like a whole clip from KOB where you're in high school and you're like, hey, what the fuck is this?
I went against my high school, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So my high school at the time, Sandia High School, I was told, and I hadn't looked at the yearbook yet, so I was told from a friend, hey, like, they didn't put this program in the yearbook. And I was like, what are you talking about? And my brother didn't go to the same school as me, so he goes to El Dorado. So when all of this was happening, he wasn't necessarily a part of that, but he was definitely an influence for me wanting to be like, what the heck is going on? So
and what was the program?
Sandia Amigos, I believe.
Okay.
Or Special Amigos, something like that. I didn't participate in the program because I kept moving. So I was like at Sandia for a year, and then I would leave, and then, everything would change. So I wasn't persistent in the group. But because everybody knew that I had a brother with autism, and that this was something I was super passionate about, they were like, hey, like, this isn't in the yearbook. And so I kind of was like, well, what the heck? And so I did research, and they actually didn't have them in the yearbook for 3 years, like 2 years even before that. And I'm like, that's so unfortunate, because I'm looking through this yearbook, and there's a whole page for chess. There's a whole page for, soccer, baseball, even the people that accepted awards, not only athletically, but, honors and stuff like that. There's pages dedicated to this, and there was not one page for this specific group of people. And so I wrote a post about it on Facebook. It ended up getting over 700 shares. And then that's how I had somebody contact me from KRQE as well as KOB. And they were like, we need to do interviews with you, and we need to push this. And I was like, absolutely. So I'm attending Sandia. I'm pretty much going against the administrators, my principal, the publishers, everything. And I attend school here. And meanwhile, there is a few people that supported me during this. I'm receiving a lot of hate, because they're like, oh, you need to stay out of it. This is none of your business, and just things like that. And I'm like, okay, but let's say you were passionate about something. And not only that, but you had a family member who had a disability, and they weren't involved in something like that. So simple. Yep. And so I think that was the most unfortunate part. And I think they ended up fixing it. So, I mean, at least I did something.
Well, and not for nothing, but not just because you have a family member that has autism, but the fact that you are that person's caregiver or caretaker,
I'm his voice.
you know, that's not only that, but that's a daily built relationship. You know, even if it wasn't your brother, like, 'cause and I give you, I mean, I have all the respect in the world for you for that, because for like 3 years, I want to say, like 2.5, 3 years, I worked in caregiving, but like as like management.
Okay.
So like every so often I have to fill in for a caregiver, and God bless people that do that and enjoy doing that. Whether it's helping their family members, helping people that they just work with in a company that they're working for, because that is just extremely hard.
Yeah.
Extremely, I don't want to say tedious. That's like a negative connotation to it. It's a specific work, right? It's very like, it's literally tailored to their needs.
You have to have the skill to take care of
Yeah.
people with disabilities.
Well, you have to have the skill. You have to have the patience. You have to have the right mindset. You have to want to do it.
Yeah.
You really do. And so you have, I mean, all the respect in the world for you for doing it, because a lot of people like just won't, right? B, if they do have a family member affected by it, they will just like give them off to have the state take care of
system,
them,
yeah.
or just figure that out. As much as you want to talk about it, like, did you, because when you became his full-time caretaker, did you like go through the state to do it? Because I know they have like state programs where like that happens, or like, as much as you want to talk about like the process of you becoming the caregiver, like did you have to deal with government at all? Did you have to like do forms?
Yeah.
Or?
So I am his legal guardian.
Right.
So at 18, I went into a courtroom and I told the judge, I want to be this person's caretaker. This is my
Right.
brother in my world. And, you know, him only being a year and a half younger than me, we're so close in age. You have this 17-year-old and this 18-year-old in a courtroom, you know, because of situations, you know, because our parents passed away. When I became the legal guardian of my brother, I didn't even have time to, I guess you could say, mourn the losses that we've endured, because I was in such a fight or flight mode, because I didn't want my brother in the system. I didn't want my brother in somebody else's hands, because if it's anybody that knows him the best, it's me. And I wanted to take charge in that, and knew this was finally the opportunity to do that. And I wanted to, I told myself, hey, I'm still going to graduate high school. It was my senior year, and I only had like 6 months left. So it was right before COVID had hit. And I told myself, I said, you know what, I'm gonna still finish high school. And then COVID hit, and I got temporary guardianship of him first before it was finalized, just so that way he could be with me. And so yeah, COVID was happening. I graduated, I went straight into UNM, helped him with his school online because COVID was happening for him too. So I was also helping him with his online school. Doing college, got guardianship of him, and this was all while I was 18 and 19 years old. So,
yeah, I was not doing that, and most 18-year-olds aren't. You know what I mean? Most 18-year-olds are trying to figure out, okay, what does life look like for me?
they're still learning how to drive.
What am I gonna do? They're learning how to drive. Most of them are learning how to read. No, but like, you know, they're just like, no, you're a kid. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to figure out what's going on in the world,
Yeah.
and what's your place in it. And I feel like a lot of people, I don't think I'm speaking too out of turn here, a lot of people wouldn't have done what you did because they look at that as like, oh, fuck, my life is over. But obviously yours isn't, because, I mean, are you still in college?
Yes, I will actually be graduating in December.
God bless. Good for you. I am a 4-time college attendee. Yeah. 4-time college attendee. Yeah. I just got my associates. I was like, you know what? Nah.
What?
Yeah.
You need to go back.
No.
You're so close.
Fuck that. No. Here's why. So I went to the back 2 years of military school, got my associates, got out, went to UNM, and I was working... I was working 2 jobs and putting up my own place, and then going to school, and I just hated school. And I also that was also a very reactionary time in my life, because me and my fiance had just split up, and then I just got out of a military school, and I'm in the real world and with all my dumb friends, and we're all stupid. So I'm just And this is back when like the economy was pretty great. So things were cheap. Booze was cheap. McChickens were cheap.
Yeah.
And we were just, my little apartment was just a party place. You know what I mean? Not that we got too degenerate with it, but we didn't give a fuck. Like as long as we were making the bills for our separate places, and then my buddy Evan had come to live with me for a little bit. So it was like, as long as we make the bills to keep the apartment, keep food in our stomach, we're going to keep gas in our cars, we're going to be okay.
Right.
Ended up joining the military. Soon after, left, came back from, that was in the National Guard, so I was just here. And I was like, okay, back from the National Guard. I'm going to go to school. Got a job with the military. So I was doing that and going to school. They cut my orders, didn't have a job here. I was doing school in person. Couldn't transition to online. So I was like, well, I got a job down in Roswell, so no more school then.
You did a lot of traveling too.
Yeah. Then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go back to college. I got a deployment coming up. Not going to do it. Fuck it. Got deployed, came back. And then I was like, you know what? We'll do online school. All right. So I think we're on attempt number 3 now of not graduating. Yeah, attempt 3. So I go to online college through the Army. And then they're like, oh, yeah. So remember how we promised that we were going to pay for your tuition? Nah, figure it out. This is like right before Thanksgiving.
Oh my god.
So like we're in the semester, the university believes they're going to get paid by the Army. I believe the Army's going to pay. And then so I was like, you know what? Fuck this. There's no tuition for it anyway. And the catch-22 was because UNM's free for residents.
Yeah.
But you can't re-enroll if you're in debt with the school.
What?
So I was in debt with the school because of the Army. And I'm still in a little bit of debt with them because there's interest that accrued. Yeah. But on principle, like I could pay it. Maybe I should cut that out of the podcast. Yeah, I have debt. I'm going back and forth with the school right now because I'm like, there's debt that I have right now that I could pay. And it's like, I think right now with interest, it's like $200. But it's on principle.
Yeah.
It's like the Army should be paying for that. They accrued the debt, not me. So we're going back and forth trying to figure that all out. And then I was like, you know what? I have a decent job. I'm not making 6 figures or nothing, but I'm doing okay for myself.
Yeah.
And I've found what I thoroughly enjoy doing, and now it's gonna be a long path, but I see myself being successful with this and stand up. So I'm like, as long as I maintain the job that I have that keeps the lights on and everything I was saying before, just more expensive stuff now.
Right.
I think I'm doing all right. And just college never because I originally got my degree. What are you going to college for?
Psychology and community health.
Okay, cool. But those are things that it sounds like you actually care about.
Yes.
Like those are things that not only you care about, but you can actually use in one way or another.
Right.
I was going, so originally I went for criminal justice because I was sure of if I'm not military, I'll be law enforcement or whatever. And then I went through everything in the military and I was like, this isn't going to be my life anymore when I get out. So I'm going to go to film school. I still do want to get involved with film in one way or another. And I enjoyed film school, but it was funny. I was talking with one of my teachers because he wanted to do Zoom meetings in the beginning.
Yeah.
And he goes, so why did you take this course? I'm like, well, and the course was called I think Intro to Digital Film or Film Production, Digital Film Production, shit like that.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I want my degree to be in film. The title is this. It seemed pretty essential. And I was just being sarcastic, and he goes, okay, I'm going to stop you right there. Nothing about film school or anything you're going to do in this is essential. And I was like, okay, look, I was real honest. I was like, hey man, listen, I know you have 45 minutes planned out for your course and all that. Can we focus on that real quick?
Yeah.
Why is film school not essential?
Yeah.
And he broke it down to if you really want to get into film, you can find jobs that you can do on a film set that is not going to be, they don't require a degree. They'll pay you okay. You get a part of a union. And then if you're interested in screenwriting, directing, whatever, and you just keep your head above water, you make connections. And he's like, if you can just learn how to network, that will take you further than any degree will. And if you want to be I don't really have any interest in being an actor. I want to do directing and screenwriting.
Yeah.
It's if you want to be an actor, go to acting, take acting classes, go to an acting school, whatever. Do that. So you can be a trained actor. But most anything else, you can just study under somebody. And if you still want to do screenwriting, you can kind of teach that to yourself. Okay. You just have to keep writing. And I used to write little like scenes and stuff here and there a while back, but now all my writing time has been dedicated to stand-up.
Yeah.
But even on that same principle, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see my writing with stand-up has gotten better. I'm seeing the return on the investment.
Do you feel like anything that you learned in college has helped you? I mean, not just only with your comedy, but anything. I mean, do you think it was super beneficial? Yeah. Or do you think we're at a time where it's not really, it's kind of...
So I'll answer that question with two parts. The first one being that the job that I'm doing right now does not need a college degree. They require one, but it doesn't need one. I'm a recruiter for a security company.
Okay.
You don't need a college degree for that. Really, you just need speaking skills, you need interpersonal, you need soft skills. You know what I mean? And a lot of that I learned anyways. I worked in restaurants for 7 years.
Yeah.
So being a busser, being a server.
You learn that in those types of industries more than anywhere else.
Exactly. So having those type of soft skills will carry you further. I mean, in any industry, but for what I'm doing, it's all interpersonal interaction.
Yeah.
And it just adds on the fact that I talk to people outside of work fucking 2 to 10 hours a week because of the podcast. So it's like, okay, I have those type of skills, and I basically pitched that to my current job, and then I had a year of recruiting down in Roswell, so I was like, okay, I can do this just fine. So my current occupation does not require a college degree. I don't think it should. But as far as what I learned in college applying to my life now, otherwise, I mean, a little bit. The best thing that I got out of college, because I didn't go for STEM, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
So the best skill sets that I got out of college were critical thinking, but a lot of that was born out of the military school as well, because they really kind of hammer that into you as like just through your day-to-day life and stuff. Because there's like there's school, but there's also like being a cadet there and all that kind of stuff, and like learning all of that. Like, well, and it's kind of corny, but like I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago, like learning that at a young age puts a lot of kids in weird situations, but you're learning about power structures.
Yeah.
You're learning about how people interact with each other. What happens when you give people power at a young age? What do they do? Like, I have like legitimate influence over how your day-to-day life goes.
Yeah.
It's a weird social experiment. You know, have you ever heard of the Stanford Prison Experiment?
No.
So there's a movie about it, and it's okay, but there's a really good documentary. And basically what it was is this college took, I want to say 20 college kids, and they made 10 of them guards and 10 of them prisoners. And they put them in a mock prison scenario for, I think, like a month, maybe less than that. And immediately, and it's all fake, obviously. But immediately, the college kids that were told, "Hey, you're prison guards," power trips immediately. And these are kids ranging between the ages of 20 and I think 27.
What?
So they're immediately like mistreating the prisoners. Like there was
they think they have that type of authority automatically.
Exactly. Yeah, there was like physical violence involved. I believe there was sexual violence involved too. Like a bunch of crazy shit. And then on the flip side of that, the prisoners had a real like gang mentality. They're getting pit up against these other guys. A lot of them instantly became super submissive and just took it. And like, it's a part of the thing. Just let them do what they're doing. And then the other extreme of that is the guys were like fighting back. And there's it's a fucked up thing. So like learning that in college, or just in school, not to that extreme obviously, but learning like interpersonal interactions of like, how do you treat your subordinates? I learned that at 18 years old.
Right.
You know what I mean? 'Cause I remember being in charge of I think 60, 70 people, and I'm 18 years old. And a lot of these people are in college going to school here for athletics.
Right.
And they went through regular high school and just went to college. Now some 18-year-old dork is telling them what to do. So it's like, oh yeah, no, I've grown up watching these jackasses do it the wrong way, so I can do it the right way now.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know what I mean? So learning how to treat people properly. And I'm still a dumbass. But like, especially so back then. So learning how to do that. But really just like the critical thinking, learning how to articulate yourself, learning how to just properly convey, like, because you're only as good as how well you can just execute your own thoughts and actions.
Yeah.
You can have the best ideas in the world, but if you don't know how to actually present them, and you know this better than anybody else doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
You could have the best answer possible, but if you don't know how to do it, let alone under pressure, you know what I mean?
True.
So college taught me that a lot, but I mean, it would have taken a little longer, but I could have learned that elsewhere too. But I mean, everything works out the way it does for a reason. I don't know. I think we are entering a time where people, I think it's directly correlated to the price of college and then the value of college are so skewed that it's like, well, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And especially if you get to a point where you know how to network and you can interview your way into jobs and you can build relationships and act on those relationships.
Yeah.
That'll take you further than a degree ever will.
Yeah.
No, in most cases.
I agree.
You're not going to show up to a hospital and be like, hey, I'm a cool guy. Let me, I'll be a doctor. I'm not going to fucking do that. But
let me pick at your limbs a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not going to go perform neurosurgery.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can do all right for yourself.
Right.
What's the plan after college?
Gosh, well, I'm currently in the works and just kind of brainstorming a potential future business idea. So I want to own one day my own facility. I want it to be a postgraduate program for those with autism because we don't. So here in New Mexico, we have so much funds and we have so much money that goes towards, the disability community here. And we kind of just don't know where it's going and we don't know how it's being used. And so we have, these services where there's respite and we have the DD waiver, which is the developmental disability waiver.
That's where I've spent a lot of time in working. And
yeah.
That system is corrupt as shit.
Yeah.
It is corrupt as shit. And I mean... I can just speak to that because anybody, let's say we're business partners. We can set up an LLC and say that we want to run a DD waiver company. And as long as we get all the funding, the funding and the checks and balances done to the state and we just have our LLC, we can just do it and start taking patients.
Yeah.
So clients rather. And it's like, well, what the fuck?
And there's people that work in this industry that don't care.
They don't care. And again, it's the type of people that get hired are either really amazing. It's like there's almost no middle ground. And this is after working, I think in DD Waiver, collectively I worked there or worked in that environment. I want to say 2 years total because I spent, about 2.5 because I spent about 6 to 8 months in private care as well.
Okay.
But in that 2.5 years, I met some amazing caregivers or caretakers. I have amazing guys. That's what they want to do, guys and gals. But they're just some absolute shitbags.
Doing it for the money.
Exactly. And that's the problem, too, is there is no money in it.
Yeah.
There is no money in that unless you're the owner. And as long as you just keep a heartbeat and you just keep saying that, these people are getting taken care of, and the audits that happen once a year are nonsense.
Yeah, and especially when these people aren't related to them, too. That's another reason why they just don't care as much.
Well, there's no buy-in for it. And I understand that there's always going to be a need for that. It just needs to get revised a lot. It needs to get fixed. Because not everyone has family members that can take care of them, right? That's just a fact of life.
Yeah.
But there needs to be more training than just, we'll teach you when you get to the house.
Yeah. And then too, you had these people that were, these caseworkers that wouldn't even do home visits, or they would just call and they would just be like, hey, how's the child doing? Or how's blah, blah, blah doing? And they actually weren't doing home visits. And, it's, these kids are really left in some horrible situations.
I had a kid, this is pretty fucked up. So I had a kid, I forget his name. When I met him, he was, I want to say 19. I know he was an adult, like 19, around there-ish. So, nonverbal, completely and totally, I don't know, what definition that is on the autistic spectrum, but completely nonverbal.
My brother's nonverbal.
Yeah, just makes sounds.
Yeah,
he can walk, he can move around, he can let you know what he wants, but 90% of the time
cannot communicate.
It's not communication at all, and it's especially when I had first showed up, borderline combative. You know what I mean? And so I'm there, and I'm like, oh shit. Well, he's not.
You did the home visit?
No. Yeah, because I was the house manager.
Okay.
So I'm learning about how these people, because there's three people in a house. I was learning, okay, what are their plans and their needs and their diets and all that type of stuff. They're not learning about the caregivers that are there and the upper management, just trying to get my feet wet. So about 5 months into it, I'm starting to my direct supervisor was a idiot, complete and total moron, but just an asshole. But other management I got pretty friendly with, and so I was kind of just asking around, like, hey, like, what's the backstory in some of these people? I had 3 houses, so like, what's the backstory of some of these? Like, more nonverbal, the more
maybe behavioral.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I was looking for the right word. Like, what's the backstory in these people? You know what I mean? What? I know they didn't just end up in this company. Like, what's the, you know what I mean? What's been going on?
Yeah.
So this one always stuck with me. So this kid, he was put into the system, and I forget what facility he was in, but he was in a state-ran facility when, I think, starting at 15.
Was he put into the foster system?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I just know that he was in a state-ran facility.
Okay.
But I don't think it was foster. But I just know that it was supposed to be a place that was taking care of him. I know that. And he's like, well, no, he was like 16, 17. He was only there for about 1.5 to 2 years before he went to this company. And the long story short of it is they did next to nothing for him. Basically just kept him alive. You know what I mean? And basically what they would let him do is he was very, I still don't understand it completely. But from what I understand is with autism, there can be like, especially when it's like the fully like nonverbal, there are just aspects of life that they like latch onto that is like their whole mindset.
Right.
And with this guy, it was anything sexual. It was just his sex drive was out the freaking wazoo, like, and that was just his whole thing.
Yeah.
And so what these people in the facility did is they would maybe feed him once or twice a day, and it was like, oh, he refused a meal, can't do it, or whatever it is, like that type of nonsense. Yeah. And they would leave him, they would just let him lay in his bed for like 12 to 16 hours a day, jerking off the whole time.
It's horrible.
You know, so they would show up.
There's no regulation there.
Exactly. There's no oversight, no nothing. And so and I remember like, I finally got access to the reports where they were just like, yeah, they're really just like changing out sheets and shit. That was the most of the care that he got and helping him with showers, but that was really it. So outside of like the face value of like how vile that is, you know, you are just ruining the reward system.
It's so neglectful.
You're absolutely trashing that. So I don't want to completely take over this conversation, but like, so with what you want to do, so you're building a facility.
I want to.
You want to, right? Your goal.
Yeah.
You're going. It's like you're going to win Miss USA, so yes. You would put that brand on it. Yeah. You want to build a facility that's going to do what exactly?
So yes. So because there are not a lot of programs here for, I guess you could say, I mean, because at least in my situation, and I've heard from parents and other caregivers too, like I'm starting to panic because I don't know what my brother's going to do after he graduates, because there's some of these kids that are nonverbal and they can't get jobs, or they would need to have a one-on-one with them at all times if they had a job, which is not realistic.
Right.
So we panic and we're like, okay, well, we're going to take them to work with us, or we need to find a full-time caretaker while I'm at work. So my whole plan is to build a facility where immediately after high school, they have somewhere to just kind of be able to, it's almost like another school program where I just want them to be able to have fun. I want them to have hobbies there, you know, sports, almost like an after school program, you could say, like a YMCA, but more like a foundational one where it's like, it really puts New Mexico on the map for what we can offer here.
That's awesome. Yeah. Good for you.
Because there's nothing like that here.
No, there's really not.
And during COVID, there was these services, and I had taken my brother to it because obviously school wasn't in session, but I wanted to keep him busy. So I tried this summer program while COVID was in session, and it only lasted about, 3 weeks. I paid for his snacks. I brought him his snacks there. I brought all the kids' snacks, chips, blah, blah, blah. So that way they had stuff to snack on there. And so, I'm noticing that all of the snacks when I was picking them up were all by the teachers, and then my brother would come home hungry. And I'm like, aren't you eating? You shouldn't be hungry, because I've literally provided the system with tons of food to not only feed my brother, but the rest of the kids. And so that's when I was like, these systems are so messed up because they're not doing background checks. They're not checking who is actually working there. It's just people during COVID that are probably either bored or they need some extra income and they don't care. And that's why I want my program to be like that one place where parents and these caretakers don't have to freak out what the next steps are after they graduate, because that's my situation currently.
Right.
I'm like, what the heck am I going to do with my brother while I'm working and pursuing my dreams? You know,
right. No,
do I take him with me and it's, you know, and of course I want to take him with me, but again, that's not realistic.
It's not realistic. Right. No. Yeah. And again, and I don't mean to sound negative about this, but you have your own life too.
Yeah.
That is a fact of the matter. And what you're doing and what you have been doing is extremely respectable and is extremely like admirable. It really is. Because again, most people wouldn't, right? But on the other hand, is you need to be able to have like respite of your own.
Yeah.
Like you need, because it's not easy. I really can't understate that or overstate that for anyone listening. Like that type of work is very taxing.
Very.
And you put that on top of everything else you're doing with your life. It will wear on you. It's death by 1,000 cuts. So you need to be able to have your own way of doing that. And if you need to build it on your own, well, then so be it, I guess.
Right.
Because we don't have stuff like that.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we get out of here, I do want to touch a little bit on the faith aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Especially so being in an industry that is so wrapped up in itself. You know what I mean? Like it's so based on vanity and appearance and how do I look today? How do I present myself today? Everything we've talked about for basically the last 2 hours. How do you keep yourself aligned with what Christianity calls you to be aligned with? And I mean, for lack of a better term, too, being not just having humility, but I don't even know if there's a word for it, but it's like because of the age of social media that we're in, you know what I mean? Like I don't get concerned about how I look on social media, like appearance wise. I get concerned about like how's my reach going, how's this, how's that, and I get into my own head about it.
Yeah.
But then I'd have to imagine that with the industry that you've put yourself in, you know, you are concerned about how do I look? How does this, how does this look to other people? This, that, and the other. So how do you like maintain your sense of self and then staying humble, staying aligned with God? Like, how do you navigate that on a day-to-day basis?
No, yeah, that's a great question. So especially with this industry, I've prepared myself for, again, like we discussed earlier, there's going to be a lot of different opinions. There's going to be a lot of different mindsets and beliefs that I'm entering into that people might not align and agree with me. So to keep this title and to keep, just the people content and I guess you could say happy with me, I need to find a ground. But I also want to I still want to acknowledge what I believe in, and I still want it to be made known that I'm not afraid to, if somebody was to ask me, like, what is your belief? I'm going to say it, and I'm not going to be afraid to, but I'm also going to be polite enough to not, shout it out from the rooftops and, I guess not make it a, what's the word I'm trying to look for?
Make you base your whole personality off of it in a vain kind of way.
Right.
Because you should be about your faith and you should be very involved and engulfed in it. But the Bible actually says that you shouldn't be praying. You shouldn't
be prideful about it.
Well, you shouldn't be praying and worshiping in public for everyone to see. You're supposed to be doing it in private,
right, where
it's meaningful.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because again, like, and I go back and forth, like a buddy of mine that I go to Bible study with every 2 weeks. He used to work in apologetics over at Calvary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I go there.
Yeah.
I love it there.
Yeah.
Love Calvary.
Yeah. He used to work apologetics there. And that's a conversation we have pretty often. Or it's like, because it's like, okay, well, like with social media.
Like, do you push Jesus or do you,
Are you supposed to? You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you diffuse that? How do you, like, if there's anything of the Bible where it's like, it's really about understanding and context and the translation of it, and it's all about like the intangibles of the scripture.
Yeah.
That's one of them where it's like, yeah, I want to I'm not ashamed of being a Christian.
No.
But on the other hand, I don't want to, because people can get people get turned away from anything, but people get turned away from Christianity by people on social media that just won't shut up about God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't say that in a negative way, but it's like, it's almost like you're doing it to pander. Like, you've lost the authenticity of it. You've lost the real, like,
the generosity, like
what makes it real.
Right.
You've kind of lost it. You know what I mean? And it's like the same way. Whenever somebody asks, I'm not ashamed to say it, I'm not afraid to say it. My religion is a part of my act right now, actually, when I do stand up, but it's it's not something like that I base everything around in that vain way.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's like virtue signaling for your religion. You know what I mean? It's like, well, look how good I am as a Christian. Like how good of a person I am. Because the Bible calls you to do the exact opposite. And I think the way you framed it's really good. So I think you stay on that right path. I think you'll be okay. What the fuck do I know? I don't know. I'm a guy in his late 20s that does a podcast and stand up. So, I don't know if I'm on the right path. So who the fuck knows?
No, you're doing a lot of things that I think a lot of people wish that they were doing. So that's you and I both. So
yeah, this is very true. Well, listen, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you coming out and doing this.
Oh, thank you. I had so much fun. This was amazing.
And once the dust settles and after you win Miss USA, I'd love to sit back down together.
Please.
Yeah. Quite frankly, regardless of how that turns out for you, I want you to fucking win, obviously. But regardless of how that turns out, I'd love to have you back on.
Please,
cool.
absolutely. Cool. Yes, I want to continue having conversations, and this is really great for the both of us. So thank you.
No, yeah, thank you. Where can everyone find you on social media? And then one more time for when they can watch the Miss USA.
Yes, so you can watch Miss USA on August 4th for the finals on CW. I believe it starts at 8 p.m. But I would just keep an eye out for it's gonna be like a couple of hours of a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, CW August 4th, and then you can find me on Instagram. I'm going to probably be changing it soon because it doesn't sound very professional. But it's Mackenzie, and so cringe.
It's okay.
Noah's making fun of me, y'all.
No, because because whenever Snapchat first came out when I was in like high school or some shit, my username, because you couldn't change your Snapchat username for the longest time up until like a year ago, 2 years ago. My username was Sliding Penguin 0, and I finally changed it like 2 years ago. I was like, oh, you can change the shit now? Thank God. Okay, that is stupid. So yeah, Sliding Penguin. That was my So I feel you.
I think you take the award for that one being worse than mine.
Yeah,
maybe?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. But seriously, thank you for coming and doing this. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. That was awesome.
That was so cool.
That was so much fun.
Noah. That was so much fun.